Hello and welcome to the viewers of this video. This is the Orange Fan here, bringing you another entry for the episode recap and thoughts category. This video will be dedicated to the B segment of episode 1 of The Loud House, Get the Message. We begin this segment with Lincoln wearing a pair of virtual reality goggles in a game where he's playing a game where he fights against the undead by dancing. As he's playing the game, he accidentally stumbles into Laurie's room. Laurie is not happy about this, kicks him out, and threatens to literally turn him into a human pretzel if he breaks what she claims to be the one rule of the house, not to enter her room. Oh, that's another thing about Laurie I didn't get to mention in previous videos. One of her main things is that she tosses the word literally around all willy-nilly. For whatever reason. Anyway, Lincoln is annoyed by this, but he resumes playing his game until he eventually needs to use the bathroom. He takes the goggles off and sets them down on the sink. But then Laurie bangs on the door. Lincoln tells her that it's occupied, but she won't let up, and more or less, I guess you could say, or steals his bathroom time, or however you want to put it. She takes it when he's trying to use the bathroom, is the bottom line. So he goes back to his room, but then he realizes that the goggles are still in the bathroom, so he rushes back down the hall to get them. But he's stopped by the twins, who... It turns out the twins have been selected to be the hall monitors at school for their grade, and they decided to practice at home, and they're taking their practice very seriously, I will give them that. Well, after his run in there, he does make it back to the bathroom, only to find the goggles have been crushed. As he rushes outside, he sees Laurie driving off in the family van, called Vanzilla. And she can't hear him, obviously, but Lincoln is furious with Laurie, and he shouts at her in anger. Later on, Clyde has come over, and he's listening to Lincoln rant about his frustrations with Laurie. He then decides that a message he made would be put to good use. It starts with, "Why blank is the worst sister ever," and then we don't see the rest of the message, but it is a big rant. And Lincoln decided to fill Laurie's name in the blank, and then he calls her phone on his duck phone. And then just as he's saying the message, Luna bursts into his room and plays the guitar so loudly that it drowns out whatever it is Lincoln's saying. But the implications makes it a pretty safe bet what he's saying, to say the least. Laurie then arrives after the message has been sent, and she says that she accidentally broke the goggles and went out and got him a new pair, although she does act rather dismissive about the toy. But she also compliments Lincoln for being mature about it by not freaking out. Lincoln realizes the trouble he could potentially get in for sending such a message to Laurie, but he realizes that Laurie's calmness suggests that she hasn't actually heard the message yet, which means there's a chance for him to delete it before Laurie can hear it. Clyde's wondering how they're going to do that, considering that Laurie doesn't like anyone in her room, and she's very thorough with the security, to say the least. Lincoln pulls up a floor plan of the house, and then he starts to say his plan. And then we actually do get to see him going about the plan. Clyde is on lookout duty while Lincoln sneaks through the vents, and mission complete. Or so it seems. In reality, that was just in Lincoln's mind about how he's hoping it would go well. The actual mission, it does not go as smoothly as he would like, to say the least. And despite his best efforts, he is not able to stop Laurie from getting her hands on the phone. But before she hears his message, she goes through a couple of messages sent by Bobby. So we actually do get to hear Bobby's voice in this segment, and he's voiced by Carlos Pena Jr., or Carlos Penavega as he goes by these days. Eventually, she gets to Lincoln's message, but she deletes it before the more vicious comments. Before she hears the more vicious part of it. And then she rants to Lincoln that there are now 2 rules in the house. 1, not to go into her room, and 2 is to not leave useless messages on her phone. Never mind the fact that she got about 12 messages from Bobby today on the day of this segment alone. But she says she'll let it slide because Lincoln was so mature about the goggles incident. And as she's heading upstairs, Lincoln does speak to the audience and says that if he has a problem with his sisters, he'll speak to them directly rather than leave a nasty message. And then he questions what happened to the message that he read off of when he gave his voicemail. Turns out it ended up in the bathroom somehow, and Lori finds it. And then she starts to declare how she will turn Lincoln into a human pretzel. And then it ends with Luna playing her guitar, drowning out the rest of Lori's rant. So this segment definitely was quite different from its sibling segment, whereas the A segment, Left in the Dark, focused more on the Loud siblings as a whole. This one was more focused about which characters it was about. In fact, some of the Loud sisters were absent in the segment. Lenny, Lynn, and Lisa, to be specific, were not in it. But it was mostly Lincoln. Well, Lincoln's he's the main character, so of course he's going to be the viewpoint character. But Lori was kind of the sister with the most prevalence, at least compared to the other sisters that did appear in the segment. But I enjoyed it too. I mean, I think I favor, between the sibling segments, I think I prefer Left in the Dark more than Get the Message, but I don't hate Get the Message. I thought it was a good segment, and it had a good point about how you should express grievances with others. The thing I liked was that Lincoln did make a point to say not leaving a nasty message, because yeah, while it's true, ideally you would want to speak directly to someone if you did have grievances with them. Sad thing is that in real life, there are some people who just won't listen, and sometimes you do have to send a message as it's the only way you'll actually be able to express your grievances. But at the same time, though, having grievances with someone is not a valid excuse to be callous and hostile and overall antagonistic. So that's what I did like, was at least they weren't saying like all message sending is bad. It's more like if you're really antagonistic about it, you're not polite about it, you're not tactful about it. It's because, yeah, like they said, ideally you should be able to express your feelings or your grievances with another person, but at the same time, yeah, sometimes you do have to send a message if someone won't listen otherwise, because believe me, I've had my share of people who refused to ever speak to me whenever I had a grievance with them, and I tried to be as civil and polite as possible about it. I don't believe in being needlessly antagonistic if I have a problem with someone, because it goes both ways. Speak your mind, but don't be a jerk about it. And on the other hand, you should be receptive if someone does have grievances, but they express it well. Like, don't get mad just because they say something you don't like to hear, but it's understandable if you're upset if they're being needlessly antagonistic about it. So, combined with Left in the Dark, I do think that these two segments are a good first start for the Loud House, and I enjoyed them. Oh, and the part about Lincoln where we got to see his dream version of how the plan should go versus how it actually went, I did like that scene. I had a feeling that maybe that's sort of meant to represent what Lincoln usually goes throughout the series, in the sense that one of his titles is the man with a plan. So he's always coming up with a plan, as you would expect, but it doesn't always go the way he wants them to go. And a lot of us can relate to that. I sure can. I know how it feels when something you have planned out doesn't go the way you want it to. I mean, we all have to learn to take it in good stride, but it doesn't make it any less frustrating. So I thought that was a nice add-in. It was both funny, but it also, I think it might have been meant to give us a little insight on Lincoln's status as the one always coming up with plans. So, with episode 1 done, we still have a lot to go with the Loud House, and you can expect to see more of those in the future. Take care, and until next time.